had a very high quality video team, and they're able to kind of get close and show us all these things. But in the actual courtroom, you're really not that close. And that in itself, in addition to the mask, is a kind of barrier. You know, one other thing I found interesting about that video is they also covered both virtual and in person, kind of treating the virtual options as one tool in the toolbox. But I wanted to kind of loop back to the communication effects of kind of what we saw as far as the adaptations. And one commenter on our pre-conference survey, talking about the social distancing that you just mentioned, it required an in-person jury trial, said that these kind of measures rob the proceeding of their resonance, was the quotation. Another respondent wrote, the process is robbed of dignity and conveys a sterile, uninspiring message to jurors. I'm wondering what each of your reactions are. And maybe we start kind of with you as the advocate, Mr. Buland. Just what is your reaction to the idea that something is being lost in that, or that feeling from that one commenter?
I don't know that the solemnity or the legitimacy or anything like that of the proceedings was lost, but I do think that as an advocate, you definitely lose part of the connection you form with both the judge and the jury. Fortunately, we could still see the witness; their mask was off, but you can't connect with the jury as well when you can't see their facial expressions and they can't see yours. I think I'm a big believer in the fact that communication is conveyed a lot by people's facial expressions, and to not see that is a big loss. I don't think I could try a case where the witness's face was covered, and it was a big loss not to be able to see the judge or the jury, to know exactly what they were thinking, or at least have a better idea.
How about you, Judge Meyer? Do you think that anything is lost from the process with these procedures and precautions?
Well, as you saw, we've chosen not to go into a great big auditorium and have everyone there, because you certainly would lose it there. We are questioning our jurors one by one on the witness stand, where they are allowed to remove their masks. And in fact, they're asked to remove their masks, because we know we judge people by their facial expressions, right? We convey a lot of information through our facial expressions. And the same with our witnesses. Of course, we disinfect between everyone and have hand sanitizer, and their masks are on and off as they get on and off the witness stand. But we all have decided that the facial expressions are important to the attorneys, especially. They've all asked for witnesses to have their masks off, and jurors as well, while they're being questioned. I think putting them in a great big gymnasium would be darn near impossible to try to figure out what the juror in the back row is saying. And again, we chose to go with written questionnaires that cover a lot of territory, instead of having the whole group in the room answering raise your hand questions.
Okay, thank you. Now, there is some social science research showing that there's little, if any, evidence that masks hinder actual truthfulness determinations, that when witnesses are masked, sometimes the ability of another to determine the truthfulness of what is being said is actually enhanced, because they're focused less on facial expression and more on more reliable elements that are content related. But what I'm hearing from you, Judge Myers, and you, Mr. Buland, is that there are other dimensions of communication. There's kind of that feeling of connection. There's a feeling that you're talking to a person that perhaps is lost with facial coverings. Is that something you'd agree with?
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's just how we communicate as humans.
Okay.